Today we're going to talk about a case study that is a teacher reacting negatively to a personal evaluation. As a summary of the situation, I will be speaking as if I am the principal in this scenario. So I, as the principal, am completing observational evaluations of the staff. It's the end of the timeline, and I've waited too long to complete them. And I have them all done except for Mrs. Stevens. I'm having difficulty completing hers due to not being thrilled with some of the things that I've seen in the classroom. I've noticed that students appear to not be engaged. They're not responding when she is correcting them or calling on them. There's some pupil control issues. It's known around the building that she has some classroom management issues. And every time that I walk in the room, I have to pause and gather myself because there's so much noise coming from the room when I go in. Mrs. Stevens, she did come to us being very intelligent and having a strong background. Her responses to the evaluations have been difficult, and she even threatened me with some court proceedings because she didn't like my information that I was sharing with her about her performance evaluation, and she threw the evaluation paper back on my desk and just said that I could do with it whatever I wanted, and things weren't going to end this way with her, and she would see me in court because I didn't do what I needed to do to help support her in the classroom, that it was all my fault, that my supervision failed her. And then she left my office. So I have to think of things and see what I can do about working with Miss Stevens. And some things that I think of is that could be legal issues, especially since she said she was going to threaten me with that, is that I placed the note in her mailbox for the meeting instead of creating a document trail by asking her to have a meeting with me via email or a calendar invitation. I didn't provide any information to talk about her written communication from prior evals. I didn't have any background, even though I had completed the evaluation for her. I didn't talk about that or make any notes about that so we could discuss her growth or lack of growth for her evaluations. And the other legal issues is that Ms. Stevens threatened me, and so we have to work through that and see what we can do. Some ethical issues that take place in this scenario is that I myself, as the principal, waited until the last minute to complete the evaluations. Did we even do any coaching recommendations with Ms. Stevens other than saying that she has poor classroom management skills, that she has difficulty keeping the students engaged? Did we work with her? There's no documentation of that anywhere. And Mrs. Stevens saying that her poor performance is all the principal's fault. That's an ethical issue because if that's true, then that means that I'm not doing my job. And was the principal present for the full observation time? Remember, I said that I stop outside of her room and hear all the noise before going in. So was I late to show up? Did I not stay for the full recommended 30-minute times? Those are some ethical issues that could cause a problem if we move forward with any of the choices that we are going to look at shortly. So where we are at right now is that Mrs. Stevens is not pleased with the results of her observational evaluation and has not reacted professionally. And so what is our next steps? How do we move forward with that? So what I do know as the principal of the building, the known information I have is that she's intelligent. She came to us with a strong background. She does have a history of classroom management issues, and that myself as the principal waited until the last minute to conduct observations and finalize all the reports. Some missing information, some information that as an observer I wish I knew more about is how long Ms. Stevens has been teaching, where she's at in the evaluation status, and that's going to come from how long she's been teaching. Even though she has an opportunity to be non-renewed at the end of this process, is she at her third year? Is she at her fifth year? Where is she at? Is she to be reviewed, have observations done twice yearly, 3 times yearly, monthly? Is she on the 1 out of 3 year rotation? Where is she at in her evaluation status? What subject is she teaching? It's noted that the students are moving around and they're talking. Are they engaged while they're moving around and talking? Is her class something that is designed to get up and move around? That is something that we need to know about. What were the prior goal informations from her other observations? What came out of that? That is information that we don't know that she has worked on or anything. And have I, as the principal, sought out support? Have I asked for my help from my mentors as what I could do? And then what's the length of the observation, as I spoke about before? Was I in attendance for the full time and giving unconditional regard to her as the professional during that observation? So I'm going to evaluate and prioritize the information out of everything that we have summarized so far. Some things that I really need to know or need to plan for as the principal is, what were her prior specific actionable steps at the end of her last prior evaluation? Did I review that before going in so I could see if there was any growth in her performance, or am I just doing it off of memory or just willy-nilly going in or operating off the computer? We don't know that information, and I need to find that to find out. What professional development plan was implemented, and how did she reflect on that with the academic coaches while between the 2 evaluations? Did she receive that professional development? Did she attend it? I need to look up information and find out if she attended the PDs, if she participated. I'm going to get with the coaches and find out what information is going on. For Mrs. Stevens' reaction, I should have used the HERE method with her and utilized the paused method during the meeting. And what those 2 are is that I should have prepared for the meeting with her. I should have affirmed our relationship and let her know that we are in this together. I should have understood her interests and where she wanted to be as a part of the teacher and in our building. And I should search for mutual understanding for the solution, because it's clear that we are not on the same page, because she is blaming me for her difficulties in the classroom setting. And I probably, as the principal, have some onus in that, because I don't have documentation of proof that I provide that professional PLC for her. And then how were those solutions executed? That's the E in there. And I want to use that HERE method when I talk to her, because I want to diffuse her defensiveness. I want to hear her. I want to explore the reasons behind it by asking, what are you thinking right now? So when she started to elevate, I should have stopped the meeting right there and let her know that you seem to have some strong emotions about this here. How can you help me understand? What are you thinking right now? I want to acknowledge and validate her feelings with the things that she says, and see that, and affirm to her that yes, it doesn't seem fair right now. And then I want to refocus our conversation back to the feedback that we do agree with. What are some things that are going on? Because throughout the summary or the case study material, she did admit that some classroom management skills may not be her strong point. And so that would be a place where we could create some growth factors or glows for her, because we are on the same page for that. So options for my plan is I would have stopped that follow-up meeting and used that here method with her. Listen to her, acknowledge her feelings, ask, what is happening right now? How can I get information from you? Help me understand what you're thinking about those things. I want to verify that Mrs. Stevens did attend the PLC attendance, because the strategies that are taught in PLC will increase the student and academic outcome and performances. If she applies the strategies that are being used, maybe she needs some more one-on-one coaching with our academic coaches to get some help. And most of all, maybe we need to create a new plan of action and make it actionable steps for her that we are able to create. How I would do that would be having a conversation with her. Ask her, okay, can we agree to meet tomorrow and talk about a new lesson plan, and I come in and observe it instead of just dropping in to observe as noted in the case study. And I can say, what are your outcomes? What are you trying to get from that? Because if the outcome is student engagement and being able to talk and move around and gather information and build collaboration within the classroom, she may be doing that. And I just didn't know it because I didn't know what the outcome or the goal was for her lesson plan that day. So if I evaluate this, and I'm going to think about what are the positives and negatives that come from this. Well, a positive outcome is that we can assist Mrs. Stevens with the academic coaching, and we can give her some more help towards actionable goals. We can set new actionable goals. We can pick whether it is student engagement or lower the behavior reports that are coming out of her classroom, or assist with lesson plans. Those are new actionable goals that we can do, and we can create strategies to help support her. And, then we're going to see the positive impact in the classroom by doing those short things. Negative outcomes that could come from this is she could be non-renewed if she continued to want to not work towards new goals or try to blame and not change some of her strategies. She could stay teaching in my building, and I would have to continue to help grow with her, because remember, if she does not, the results of this evaluation decide whether she is going to be contract is going to be renewed or she's going to be let go. Mrs. Stevens could be unhappy and become another principal's issue. I could say, you know what? I am going to keep you here. We're going to work on these things. And she is not happy with working on those things. And she could become reprimanded, or she could become another principal's problem because she may change schools, or I may be moved as the principal. And then as a principal, I could be reprimanded for waiting until the end of the observation window to complete the observations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare and gather new information about her performance. And myself, Mrs. Stevens, and the academic coaches are going to work together to come up with new actionable goals. And I'm going to make sure that in my new observation with her, I'm going to be there for the whole time. We're going to create that new actionable plan. And plan B, if she's not willing to work with me, will have to be a non-renew her contract. Or, in last, worst case scenario, I could falsify my documentation. So this assignment correlates to collaborative planning and building professional capacity by hypothesizing how to work through a difficult evaluation of a staff member. It's relevant due to my learning as a building leader. I will have to draw upon this learning to have these difficult conversations and deal with this, because it will happen. And then I'll reflect on this information and be mindful of my own responses when giving feedback and receiving feedback, because that will be important as a building leader as well. And here are my resources.